Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Breakthrough Podcast. I'm Sunny. I'm your host, and I love interviewing the folks that are normally with Breakthrough, and even if they're not with Breakthrough, they're doing amazing stuff in the world, and they have amazing stories, so we'd love to hear them. So my next guest found her calling, not in spite of her struggles. She would also say that her calling found her, but her name is Deana Coble. She's a consciousness and self-realization meditation teacher and is the founder of the Living as Awareness app. Her approach is refreshingly real. There's no fluff. There's no pretending. There's no escaping. She teaches people how to find peace right in the middle of their actual lives, exactly as they are. And I really love this approach because it's real and it meets people where they're at. And Deana's building a community that's very special, and it's specifically for people who have felt like peace or consciousness was somehow out of reach for them. And these are folks that are with strong emotions, but on a deep path of self-love and self-realization, specifically navigating TBI, who identify as neurodivergent or LGBTQ. And Deana's message is simple and powerful. Consciousness belongs to everyone. There's no barrier between you and it. So, Deana, with that, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, you're right. It has to be real. It has to be experiential because we do not have time for words that are supposed to make us feel good or feel better. For me, it's as an engineer in a previous time frame, it has to be experiential. Feeling it is knowing it, and then no faith is required, and you can feel the difference for yourself. So it's real is the key thing for me. So thank you.
The realness. Well, so let's get real. And why don't we start off with, what was the moment that your life fell apart? And what did that actually look like?
Yeah, so it was incredibly hard. I lost spouse and job, friends, and all at the same time. And so there was no escaping, because there was no job to go to focus my time on to solve another problem. And there wasn't anything to come home to that was going to fix it and make it better. And it got to the point where I was having a successful day if I could make myself a sandwich because I was so numb, so gone, and just surviving. And I, just needed, I realized that my perspective had to change. And so much of my identity was being ripped off that I needed something that was real. It couldn't be fake. I could see through fake. It wasn't money. There was no amount of money that was going to make me happy. There was no travel that was going to make me happy. There was no person that was going to make me happy. What did I need to know about life and love to exist when the identity was being stripped away? And that's why it must be real, because if I couldn't feel it, I wasn't going to be here.
Wow. That's so deep and moving. So tell us then, what happens next? How does that turn into, how do you get out of that?
Getting through it. I think I love that song. It's not something you get over, it's something you get through by Willie Nelson.
Great song.
Sometimes I'll just sing that, because it's first I had to exist in the void without the awareness or the answers to my question. Because as identity was stripping off, it was this no answers yet space. And that was the hardest space to be in. And then I met a gentleman who was incredibly amazing with energy. And he was late in life, about 86. And I heard him talking. Well, actually, I read his book and found out he was still alive. He has passed since then. And I asked him, I said, can I come see you? And he's like, why do you want to come see me? And I said, because I think you know what love is. And I want to know what love really is and what life is really. And he said, okay, come see me. And through that, he was so humble and shared unconditional love and helped me identify within myself where that was, because that's our connection. No one is without this connection. Everybody has it. And when I could find it in myself, there was no hole that was too deep to climb out of. And, life came around again 10 years later, and I broke up with somebody and lost my job, and it was not a problem to get through.
Kind of like this, maybe not the same thing, but a similar
thing. But I knew more who I was as I went through it. So now we can be unafraid. We can love fully. and we can live fully. And that's what living as awareness is. But go ahead.
I really love, by the way, that title that you picked for your brand, Living as Awareness. I love the previous title too, Destination One Love, but I really love Living as Awareness because every time for me personally, when I've done different, let's call it chemical-filled experiences where you alter your state,
yes,
like LSD, or I've gone on long retreats, long Vipassanas. I get this experience where I'm not my thoughts or my body or emotions or anything. I'm just awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And in my daily life, I don't live as that because I come up here, but I really belong back here, right? So your work and the way you position it really resonates with me. I wanted to ask
Eugene Albright, and his book was Unicotometrics. But yeah, that was his name.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. And
so then take us through it as you've gotten to this transformation and clearly evolved yourself to similar, not as maybe heavy, but definitely similar that would have put you on your knees previously. You were able to work with it. How does this turn to more than just a practice, but to actually teaching?
So I would say experiencing and guiding, because I don't think anybody needs a teacher, but sometimes we need someone to guide us to where it is inside that our awareness is. And so I guide, but you lead yourself, and that's the thing for me is that when I move into that state that we always are, I am, you are, but it's just taking the conscious awareness. You were talking about, hey, I'm here in this life and then I forget and I need to be back here. And what I would say is, yes, that place that you're pointing that's where our thinking kind of is projected to and our focus runs to, oh, I've got to do this and the kids need that and then I've got to and work and then there's these bills and it's a part of awareness, right? Because we are aware of that. But it's grabbing the focus from that and returning it to where we can operate from. And then from here, as I notice these things, I can do them, I can deal with them, but I can hold a space of connection to myself, which is a well of unconditional love and peace and stillness. And then every once in a while, when I get caught up in that, what were you thinking? Then I'm like, oh, wait, breathe again. Like, oh yeah, I can laugh at myself.
Right.
And my identity that's so drawn to being this projection of who I am. And then it's kind of a marriage. That's why I like to call it living as awareness, because once you find that space in you, once you get to experience it, then you lead yourself back to that space and you handle your life so you don't have to run to something every time something comes up. You begin to build this ability to live life as awareness. Because I didn't come here to sit somewhere quietly the whole time. I want to engage life. I want to hold hands. I want to kiss. I want to eat and enjoy and dance and be. And at the same time, hold space for me when grief comes and visits, or when sadness comes and visits, or anxiety, that, that I have the space in myself to be present to life as it comes without getting totally caught up in it. And when I do get caught up in it, not a problem. It's just recognition of like, oh yeah, I don't have to do that, and pulling back and pulling in.
Were you always on this path, somewhat near the path or on the path before the big, the life
before
falling apart moment, before it all fell apart, right? As it always does?
Yes.
Were you already on in some ways adjacent to it, or was it the life falling apart that just kind of like everything fell apart and you somehow discovered this?
Well, I think that I think everybody is actually on their path, and I was on mine. But did I see signs of it? Yes. I would have interactions and awarenesses and depth and knowledge, wisdom, those things prior to having that full raking of my identity. And so I was kind of tuned in, but when the identity had to be ripped off, it didn't feel tuned in. It felt very distant from everything. I could see joy, but I couldn't feel it, so that's where, yes, I would say that I was. I had experiences of consciousness many times, but it got ramped up by my experience with the one gentleman and him, holding that space for me to find that space in myself. And then I think, of course, adding in a state, because he took me through several energetic states. And once those are touched, they open up. And so that's where, I remember I encourage people to listen to some of the recordings that are on the app, because you listen to it one time and you hear one thing, and then you listen to it again and you hear a deeper level. And as you continue, you may have heard it before, but listen again, because now that things are cleaned up, you can hear, because this is the depth of source. So it's going to meet you where you are. And then when you come back to it, it's going to meet you where you are now, and then meet you where you are now. And then once you build that muscle, you don't need a guide anymore. You can do it yourself. But you know what? I still go back and listen sometimes to things that touch me. And so, it's there for as long as you like to enjoy it. And I think you can even come back years later to something and listen again and be like, oh my gosh, was that there? So that's what I find is that, and so many people take a different thing. And that's why I love recording in the space of source, because what people hear is source interacting directly with them, because my voice takes you into the vibration. But when you're in the vibration, you, as source, are communicating with source. And that's why you hear, see, sense, feel something different than another person, because this is tuning you into your personal connection in that vibration.
Do you have a practice that keeps you as living as awareness and keeps you in the source? Do you have a daily practice? And if so, what is that?
It for me, it was life somehow had to be it. I don't know why, but I don't meditate. And although I think that could definitely help, right? So my thing is I didn't want to just sit somewhere and meditate. That wasn't comfortable for me. I didn't want to run off somewhere and, or be tied to a particular practice. I think those that have that, can take advantage of that as well. But I needed it to be alive. I needed it to walk with me. And, so now I have learned even more, like, yes, I'm going to take some time for stillness on the front porch and a cup of coffee and holding that space, and I can enjoy it. And so I find that I would encourage anyone who had a chanting, meditation, whatever, steals your mind to get to that space. But if you can't, if the baby's crying, the dishes got to be washed, the car's broke down, the yard's got to get mowed, why cannot my every step, my every breath be a part of this? And so what became my teacher is something that people do talk about with meditation is connecting to the breath, because the breath is absolutely alive and it walks with you and talks with you. It really does. And it can take you into deeper and deeper awarenesses. I have become aware of how it joins me, how it teaches me about the rhythm of life, how not to fear death, that I will finish my last breath here, but I'll take an inhale into the next space. And there we are in this infinity of eternity. And the breath is our path, our rhythm to that. And so this constant companion, you're never alone. It's with you here the very first breath you take, and it embraces you on the last exhale, but you never stop breathing or interacting with that which is the breath, which is way more than oxygen keeping our bodies alive.
I want to actually read something to you that one of your students posted in the app. Won't say who it is, but they said, this is something, so it was on a track when everything feels different, reconnecting and rebuilding. And the comment was, there's something about this awareness that resonates with me deeply. Although I have not experienced a brain injury, I have had an experience of reconnecting and rebuilding myself. Listening to this helped me to make more sense of where I am today. I realized that my human part was the part that was doing all the work, and my being part was supporting me with every breath I took. Today, I find myself relaxing into my beingness with the deep knowing that I don't have to work so hard.
Yeah.
What's amazing is 11-minute track made somebody feel that way.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice work, Deana.
Well, I'll have to say thank you because I've been working with that one's, I believe, from the TBI section, which anybody should listen to them. But what
Right.
I
That's what's
have
cool about
learned,
it.
yeah, and what I've learned, because I've been working with that community for over a year,
Yeah.
is they taught me to slow down, to be good with where I'm at, to admit when I've done enough for the day. That was very hard for me because, I'm like, next, drive, don't put it down. Like I grew up with work as, and and so I was to be with people who have to say, I've done all I can. I've run out. Cognitive function is done for today. I've no more spoons left. And the ease, of allowing myself that break. And so these particular pieces are very focused and go deep very quickly and hold that space so that those who are listening can work from that space and not just the mind, because the mind has some neurology that's not totally functioning in the way it used to. So this space holds that space. And so I'm very grateful to be working with them. So, but yes, thank you for reading me that. I appreciate it.
No problem. And it's so powerful. I feel like for the TBI folks, traumatic brain injury, right? It's the work you're doing for them is so powerful. And I do see, I believe you have a TBI category. I think, yeah, you do. That's where I think I saw that from. I do want to ask you, on the app, you have some other categories. You've got hot mess, neurospicy. So specifically those two. Of course, you have the TBI journey, exploring again. That's a great one. You got LGBTQ, great, consciousness for real life. Specifically the hot mess and neurospicy. Who did you make that for, and why did you add those categories?
Well, hot mess, I think sometimes, don't we all feel that way? Like the places that we hide. Yeah, it's the ones we hide, right? I don't want to show people my shame. I don't want to show people my guilt, my control, my resentment. So these are the raw emotions. And you don't get through raw emotions with logic, right? You're not going to logic your way out of it. You have to meet those and be with those emotions, and we all have it, and it's where we find ourselves in the floor, tearing at our hair sometimes. And you are more powerful than that space, but that space has a truth for you. And so it's like together journeying into that, holding the space that lets you know, there's a light in here. And I can walk with this, and I am not going to be overwhelmed by this. And should I need to cry or scream, I can. But it doesn't mean that I am not aware or conscious that I have these, because that's the thing. We all have these emotions and these feelings. We all share the same world. Of course we do. But do we address it? Do we look at it? Do we love it? And do we not become it? And that's what hot mess is about, is how to take those places where we're betrayed and we're angry and we're raw and work with that energy. Because I felt that when my identities got ripped apart, I was coming from that chest beating place, but also numbness, and so that's what that one's about. And then LGBTQ, in this culture in America, there is a lot of, not as much now as there used to be, but then again, a rising of it, of God being separate from an LGBTQ person, or, I'm at this abomination. And that can be true for, women, oh my gosh, the fall of the world. And then LGBTQ right there with that. And it's about finding that wholeness. And I really love, as a member of the LGBTQ community, that is part of what pulled me through. Because once I could because I grew up in a time when that wasn't okay. And once I realized, what, this is who I am, regardless of what the world says, regardless of what society, religion, family say, this is who I am. Right. And when you can hold that space, well, guess what? You can find out more of who you are. It is actually a journey of consciousness to be LGBTQ. And I think, and then when we look at neurospicy, it's about places that, there's so much data coming in, right? There's like hyper awareness or it's really more like hyper focus, hyper information, trying to filter that and get into the stillness that you also are, and being able to build that neurology to that space so that you can bring down some of that anxiety, bring down those pitches, bring down the rapid thinking, And so that way it's more about, so those are built and designed to take a stimming tool and anchor it more deeply, or to bring yourself out of high anxiety into that conscious stillness that you are, to help use that space inside yourself to shift focus and attention from the incredible rapidness and sensitivities to doing it from a different space within yourself.
You know, I see on the app you have many people, and many of them have done hundreds of sessions. Some have done thousands on the app. It's so phenomenal. Who would you say is the audience? Are they folks with TBI, LGBTQ? Is it a mix? Are you aware of kind of like who comes to you, either on the app or inside Timer?
Yeah, I think, I love that you asked me that question because it helps me define it, even in this moment. People who cannot afford to pretend. You're not pretending with neurodiverse, you're not pretending in LGBTQ. It's got to be real. In TBI, it's got to be real. It cannot be, and I think even with our raw emotions, it cannot be a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
It has got to get into that womb and be a balm to that, and for that person to feel a real difference in their life. And so people who come to me don't want to play, because you know what? When you start addressing your mind, well, the mind doesn't want to go away, and it starts, so there's this, sometimes people want to just get to a place that's comfortable, and then I'm happy here and I don't want more. And then there are people who are like, you know what, that's great until the next discomfort comes. And some people have seen, guess what, the next one's coming. So I want to actually know how myself to navigate life from a place of joy and ease versus anxiety and, oh my God, what's coming next? And how can I calm and face it? So if it has to be real, if it has to be genuine, if it has to actually work, then this app is for you. And you don't have to be clean and clear and perfect. I mean, come jealous, come enraged, come anxious.
Even better.
Yes.
Even better, right?
Because then, and experience it. But if you want to play, this will go into real transformation. And some of us, and I think most of us, are ready for that. I think that's what society is at right now. So come and enjoy it and see that it works through you as you. It's not me, it's you, the real you.
That's so beautiful and so powerful and so needed. And what I love is you've taken, like, a lot of people sometimes just make it happy and surface level, even big meditation teachers on YouTube, but what I love is, but that's not what life is, right? Life is a multitude of things. It's a whole,
Life's a hot mess.
The colors. It's a hot mess. Most of the time, I have a 16-month-old baby. I'll tell you, it's a hot mess, right?
Yes.
So yeah, Deana, I mean, since we're talking about the app, I'm curious. Obviously, you put yourself on Insight Timer. Mm-hmm. You've amassed a really good listenership on Insight Timer. Of course, I found you Insight Timer, but I want to ask you, why did you decide to still do an app? Obviously, you're still doing stuff with Insight Timer, which is great. But why also decide to have an app?
Well, a couple of things. I think what I loved about your offering of this app was that we were similar. Like, I recognized when you said, hey, this brought me, I listened to something and I needed it to live through life because my life fell apart when you said that. And then you wanted to create these other places for people. I had that same experience. And so I was like, this is where I'm going, because you get it. You know what people need. And so then with this app, what it allows me to do is put the lives in a single place, put the meditation/conversations in a particular place, build the path of transformation, how to love myself, how to work with hot mess me, how to experience consciousness. You don't have to wait for 100 years of meditating to experience the consciousness that you are, because it's natural. And I can put that in a path in the app, as well as there's community there so we can interact. And I can say, hey, here's a course, here's a live. Tell me what's happening for you, because people have said to me, you know what? Even the featured meditation on the app right now is where someone commented and said, hey, you talk about merging, but I don't really get it. And so I made one that's about how to visualize that, how to be with that. And I'm going to make him other ways. But so for me, this app is a one-stop shop for how to get to my lives, how to see the courses, how to find the path, and how to interact. It's all there in that one space. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I can play with both video and audio. And yeah. And I love the new things you add. Sorry. Well, the AI search, love that. So.
And the AI search is great. And we're seeing people are using it on your app because they're coming in with an intention. And sometimes when people are a hot mess, they don't have time to scroll through to try to find the right category and stuff. They just want to tell you what they're feeling. And what I love that you did the app and you've set up the smart search in the app is like the smart search will just give them the content. Like, here you go. That's it. They don't have to go on a search. And also, I just want to say, I think you've done a phenomenal job with organizing. It's very user-friendly. It's very welcoming. And you've laid it out in such a way that it's a joy to use. If somebody is on the other end of this digital ones and zeros, wherever they are, they're listening and maybe they know you, maybe they know me. Most likely they just know you, and they're feeling completely broken. They got something going on in their life. What do you say to them?
You are going to be okay. You're going to make it. And if you are feeling this, what is broken is not you. It's simply the awareness that you can no longer go as you were, that the system, that life that we've been told that life isn't working. So this brokenness is breaking open to who you are. Fear not. Fear not, my friend. You're about to experience who you really are.
Thank you so much, Deana.
Well, they can check out www.destinationonelove, all is one word.com. And I'm updating to a new website that will be living as awareness as well. But, I say go to the app because it's all there. And what I love about this app, because I'm going to do a little plug for you guys too, is that because you understood falling apart and finding yourself, your app is continuously growing and supportive of people in that space and the users. And so I would send folks to that app. For me, I say go to the app because it has everything and it's growing and changing and evolving to meet your needs. And so I'll handle that from the content side and Breakthrough handles that from the technology side. But that's where I would send, you can go there and then you can contact me through the app. You could schedule a one-on-one through the app. You can, join a Zoom, etc. Certainly you could just email me if you needed to. And I think, that's available on the website. Folks can find my email there. So, but It's also livingasawareness@gmail.com. So,
hey, hit her up.
Yeah. So
awesome. Well, I'm so appreciative of you being our partner and being on this journey with us. We thank you for your work in the world, Deana. And thank you so much for being on the Breakthrough Podcast.
Yes, thank you so much. And yes, I want to say, I'm all about, I don't want you to have to use faith. I want you to experience and know. And this app helps me share that with people. And I thank you very much for that. And thank you for this time. And yes, we are partners. So, and I'm grateful and very choosy about who I'd get with. And so I choose you. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you everybody for listening and watching. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Deana.